Hi, I'm Grant Hunter. There's going to be more about me a little further on, but since I'm not the most important part of this webinar, I'll delay that a bit and start by saying this. Most of us don't look for purpose. We wish for it. We do the same thing today that we did yesterday and last week. And in odd moments between work emails and scrolling on our phone, a question returns over and over during our life. That question is, what's this all for? What's my big why? Then we get distracted because there's always something coming to distract us all the time in our lives and in our work. And the next time the question comes up, maybe 6 months have passed and nothing has changed. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how you can feed and water that question and grow it much more quickly into something that you and your team can build on, because there are easy to understand steps for doing that that anyone leading a team can use. So, who am I and why am I talking about this? I've spent the past 2 decades working with people and companies who wanted to grab that little persistent question about purpose so they can answer their big why and then strengthen it and grow it into something that can carry them and guide them. And I should say at the outset that this course was designed with business leaders in mind. The practices I described are actually applicable to anyone who is working with others to come together for a common cause and get things done. So maybe that's a local charity or community organization. Maybe it's a Fortune 500 company. The principles and practices are the same. So stay with me. If you only remember one thing from this talk, this is it right here. Most of us didn't end up in our job or our company or our life because of a deeper purpose. We're there because we didn't do the steps to discover our purpose and follow it. We're there because the world will keep you distracted, or we're there because we were afraid that knowing our purpose would mean hurting someone or making them unhappy or being uncomfortable ourselves, or knowing, frankly, whether it was even possible. I have something coming up in a few minutes that will help with that. And what I'm sharing with you about today isn't about bolting a purpose onto your job or your life just to have one. You don't want to pick up someone else's purpose. Your own purpose is available to you. It's worth finding and it's worth nurturing. I see this in companies all the time, but I also see it in teams at big companies. No matter how big a company is, there are teams inside that are switched on. They're an island of purpose in a sea of turned off people. They're working towards something bigger than themselves. Maybe you wish your team was like that. I used to be the person who made that happen. We'd be hired by a big company, like a Fortune 500 company here in Silicon Valley. Someone, probably the manager, knew that their team had the potential for more. The workshop I used to do, and that workshop is a foundation of an online course now. That workshop started with me listening. What did this group of individuals do? What filled their day? What was in their way? What parts of their role felt important to them? There was one company where a team no one was happy about being a part of, an audit team, went through our workshop and they got to the point where they saw that they were all there for the same reason. They were people who needed to bring order to chaos. And the things they felt low about before, like how their jobs meant always looking backwards and questioning what other people did in their jobs, and people being suspicious when the audit team showed up, those weren't the reasons the team was unhappy. Not really. See, they didn't take the time to work out their purpose. And when your purpose is bringing order to chaos, that's a big purpose, a big responsibility. And you know that if you don't take it seriously, the entire company will suffer. So after I listened, we all walked through these four quadrants of organizational life to consider the range of variables that contribute to the problem and its solution. It shows that purpose driven change starts with purpose, but is guided by leadership and is nurtured in the soils of a conscious culture to deliver impact to all stakeholders. By taking a deep dive into purpose in the upper left quadrant, we quickly found the core of the morale problem in the team. There was no coherent purpose. As we dug multiple levels deep in the question of why, we issue audit reports to provide systemic controls for the finance department. Why? We reduce regulatory non-compliance risk and help maintain the company in good standing. Why? And the process goes. After about 5 whys, they landed on their deeper purpose, which, as we shared, was to bring order to chaos. That changed everything. Those people reported later that they felt like they were in new jobs, but nothing had really changed, except now they knew why they were there. Because the story you tell yourself frames your experience. Empowering stories make you feel strong. Disempowering stories make you feel weak. Purposeful stories give your life meaning. Knowing why you are, where you are, and that you're in the right place doing the right thing, that's a powerful way to live. A lot of people end up taking extreme steps to get that purposeful feeling back in their lives. I think a lot of new companies, and there are more of them than ever before, are founded by someone who needed to work toward a more meaningful, deeper purpose. And that meant getting away from a team or big company that didn't have one, or one that aligned with their own better. More companies of every size are founded to, at least partially, move a big social goal closer to reality. Work is a big part of our lives. It's good to be engaged in it and to know why you are and how you are fulfilling a real purpose. You can get that and get the respect and dignity it brings along in your own company, but you can get it in a big company too. You can get to those answers with a coach, a guide, or in a group, but you can also get to them by yourself on your own schedule with the right tools and exercises. Tools and exercises that have worked for other people after lots of testing. So the things that worked are improved and expanded, and the things that didn't work or didn't work well enough to keep were dropped. I'm going to show you those shortly. In getting to your own answers about personal purpose and team purpose, I mean, has there ever been a tougher time to be a manager? As a manager, trying to build trust, cohesion, and solidarity, especially when so many people are working remotely now? Plus, at the same time, you're balancing the demands for business to do more socially and environmentally, to be good corporate citizens, dealing with purpose at work, engaging employees, building high functioning teams, and making a difference in the world. It's harder than ever, even though it's expected of you more than ever. I'm happy when I see the popularity of things like mindfulness and meditation at work. They're important tools in modern life because modern life today is better than humans have ever had it in many ways. Things like surviving and helping your kids survive, those used to be our main focus. And time demands and a work structure that keeps us a little bit on edge all the time. Today, things are different for most of us. And those two priorities have been backfilled with noise and time demands and a work structure that keeps us a little bit on edge all the time because it's based on interrupting us. It's easy to just get sloshed around like a cork in the water. You're not anchored, you're floating. And that's better than sinking, but it can trick you into thinking that you're doing all right, but you're really not anchored to anything either. Every day seems a lot like the day before, but over time you end up far away from where you should be. What should be happening is you and your team are what the water flows around. You're the steady march toward the goal. You're the center, not the bit at the end that gets whipped around. There's a problem, though. Our purpose question, our longing for something more, something real. It doesn't hang around. It doesn't visit every morning or every evening. It returns occasionally. So the way you find it and grab it and pull it close to you is to use tools. The tools you need to grab it and elevate it and put it to work. When I say tools, you may call them techniques, practices, exercises. You get the idea. I mean, you could wait around for it, but why would you? Most likely, here's what will happen: it'll slip away and you'll lose another month or quarter or year until you see it again. You go back to Groundhog Day. Time slips away. Nothing's changed. You're older and no closer. But it doesn't have to be like that. That's what I hope I'm proving to you right now. Grabbing that purpose question, purpose desire, it's critical. But to get closer to it, you can also prep for it or be lucky or unlucky. I got super lucky at age 29, or super unlucky if you look at it that way. The purpose question popped up, and for whatever reason, I'll never know why it happened, but I caught it and kept hold of it long enough to do something with it. Eventually, in Lima, Peru, where I had never been. What happened to me at age 29 and ultimately put me in Peru a few years later, well, that's a story about not telling yourself the story everyone expects you to tell yourself. I'd followed the same path of a lot of my friends: college, grad school, an assignment overseas, and a job with a six-figure salary at a Fortune 500 high tech firm. And then something happened that I wasn't expecting, and it just knocked me off track a little bit. Because just a half a year into that job, I got a raise and a bonus. Here I was, 29, about to turn 30, and I should have felt like having a nice dinner to celebrate, maybe buy myself a new toy or look at moving to a new apartment. But I didn't feel anything except a need to push myself in a different direction. I didn't celebrate at a restaurant. I went on a 3-day juice fast. I didn't take it easy. I did a lot of hot yoga. And I didn't look for a new car or a new apartment. I went out on the water, into the ocean on a surfboard. I needed to be on the ocean. As I sat there on the surfboard, waiting for the next set of waves to roll in, I happened to look down at my legs dangling in the water. Have you ever looked at part of your body and feel at the same time that it's both part of you and part of something else? That's what happened to me. I was half submerged in the water, and that water was teeming with life at all scales and sizes. Your body is like 70% water. Your cells are mostly water. Your blood, my blood, is not very different from the ocean water. They're both water, salt, full of living organisms. So the line between me and the ocean wasn't a hard line anymore to me in that moment. What was me? What was the water? They were pretty much the same thing. One thing. Later, I would learn that I was having a Salvikapa Samadhi experience, the felt experience of oneness with all manifest form. My heart filled up. Where I felt empty about the bonus and the raise with my job, now I was only thinking about the sacredness and beauty of all of life. And everything I felt at that moment stayed with me after I left the water. Getting back in my car didn't make it fade away or fade back. Eating, getting back into my own bed, waking up the next morning, it didn't fade away. I wasn't trying to make it fade away, but we've all had those transcendent experiences where we've had some sort of revelation, a big one or a small one. And it didn't stick around. It didn't survive seeing billboards or hearing a song on the radio, the phone call we were on right after. But this change for me stuck. I didn't unsee what I saw. And as a young man working in the context of business as my day job, I wanted to serve that, the sacred goodness of all of life, with the work that I did in the world. And that little knock off the rails of a pretty conventional life and into the water set the path for the rest of what I'm going to share with you today. Now, this is worth bringing up right at this point because there's a difference between being someone who understands their purpose and being someone who accidentally discovered a way to express their purpose, how to live and be aligned with their purpose. Without the understanding and structure of finding it and developing our understanding of it, we can have a period of our life. Many people have a period in their past that they remember very fondly, where they were doing good work for good reasons and making the world and their world better. A lot of people we read about who seem to be leading purposeful lives and doing purposeful work are actually people who found a way to have a period of their life that's aligned with their purpose, but they still don't know or understand what their purpose really is. Now, the world is better because of them, but accidentally getting in sync with a purpose that you don't understand, that's not what we're talking about for you and your team, you and your company. Oh, by the way, there's an opposite to being aligned with a purpose you don't know or understand. It's when you don't know what or where you're supposed to be, but you're certain that what you're doing right now is not what you're supposed to do. That dissonance is aggravating. I shouldn't be a lawyer. I should be happy as a mother, but I'm not. I'm in the wrong company. I'm in the wrong profession. I'm in the wrong relationship. That feeling happens when you have a sense of what your purpose is, because it's the opposite of what your life is at the moment. You see this a lot with people who went into professions or relationships that their parents or culture pushed them into without checking in with themselves to be sure it felt right. Also, there are some people listening to me right now, and they don't like it when I point that out. They want to push back and roll their eyes. Stick with me a bit longer. I have what you're looking for. It's coming up. Okay, so back to Peru. I should add that I share these personal stories because it's important to see how to go from discovering a deeper purpose to actually embodying it through the work that you do every day. These stories were and are my modest attempt at embodying my purpose. Okay. After my surfboard moment, I decided to help taxi drivers in Lima, Peru to get out of poverty with an eco friendly taxi service. It fit the micro franchise model I was testing perfectly: local ownership with centralized financing and support. Bottom line is, if you want to help poor people out of poverty, help them make more money. We did it by putting them on the path to owning their own business, a new eco-friendlier CNG or compressed natural gas taxi. Now, like I said, I'd never been to Lima before. I didn't even speak Spanish. Working with a business school professor from the Marriott School of Business at BYU, who was an expert in the micro franchise model, helped me redefine criteria for the perfect micro business that could scale through the franchise model. So we went on a research trip to Peru to see what was happening in the informal economy. Like other countries in Latin America where there is widespread mistrust in governments, the vast majority of people, north of 90% in Peru, worked in the informal economy. No business licenses, no taxes. In Lima, I started by giving something big to someone no one gave big things to. I provided brand new low emission cars to taxi drivers. They paid off the car as they operated their own taxi. They had nice new cars that customers wanted to ride in. They had steady incomes. They wore uniforms, were trained in basic car maintenance, customer service, and even defensive and invasive driver training. Their families prospered. Actually, everyone was better off, including the customers and even the air quality in Lima. So that was Taxi Excel. As challenging as it was, I felt fueled by the deeper purpose I had discovered and was channeling that energy into a concrete expression of it in the world. That's the move I'm inviting you to make in your own lives. And after Taxi Excel, I wanted to do even more. And with a colleague, I started Luminar Networks. The idea was we made low cost prepaid electricity meters in India and then did projects in 30 countries where we worked through renewable energy partners to provide electricity to poor regions. Similar to how prepaid phones work, you can now purchase your power as you could actually afford it. And even in some cases, use the electricity for your own small business and use the income from that to pay for your next top up. But no matter what you use the power for, it was a business model that was win, win, win. By the time I started the first social purpose business, the one in Peru, I'd already sold another business, a marketing business in America. And that success did absolutely nothing for my spirit, nothing for my mental health. So at Taxi Excel and Luminar Networks, I spent a decade in the developing world, synced up with my own purpose, helping to raise people up income wise in the developing world and helping bring areas who don't have it electricity for the first time. A decade of living according to your purpose will mess with your head in a good way. You'll never want to go back to living any other way. And that's why now I'm at Syntropy. I teach and coach and consult with companies how to operate with a deeper purpose so we can all do better for the world, for our employees, and build lives of meaning and contribution. And since then, I've learned about myself too. In the end, I'm not the expert with all of the answers here. I'm not the sage on the stage. The reality is, this view of business is still emerging. No one is really an expert on that which is just bubbling up on the horizon. I prefer to think of myself as a guide on the side. I've been deeply in this inquiry at the interface of money and meaning for nearly 2 decades. Now, while your path will largely be your own, I can guide you on your way and connect you with others and show you what has worked for me and the clients with whom I've worked. The difference between then and today is I've discovered and assembled the tools to build my own purposeful life and company intentionally, and to help you have a purposeful life, team, or company too. I'm going to give away a toolkit for that shortly. Now, lately, there are a lot of people talking about purpose at work, and some of them are really inspirational. I love listening to them. They're spreading the word, they're helping people realize that the seed is there right now. Getting in front of millions of people and offering a pre-packaged one size fits all is not part of my purpose. I'm the one who builds the scaffolding and the structure and the step-by-step stuff so you and your team can choose the modular practices that make sense for your situation. This is critical for making actual progress and not slipping backwards. I build the scaffolding between the personal, the interpersonal, organizational, societal, and natural worlds. If we climb up Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all needs ultimately resolve to serve a self-transcending call. So this is important because purpose, even personal purpose, really isn't purely a personal affair. It's about making conscious contact with the larger world of which we're all a part. It's where the most personal part of us is at the same time the most universal. From me to us to all of us. Purpose inspires service. Service fulfills purpose. One hand washes the other. And I know, I get it. This probably sounds a little unrealistic to the modern mind, but it's real. And I make it real. Making it real happens when two things are combined. I connect purpose to impact. It's usually the HR department in larger companies that looks into things like personal or leadership development and organizational development, as well as issues around deeper purpose. On the other hand, being a good corporate citizen That's usually the responsibility of the corporate social responsibility department or folks who are working in sustainability, maybe, or philanthropy. Depending on the company size, it varies. But yet, no matter the size of the company, I've never seen anyone connect these two dimensions. No one builds the bridge between the inner work and the outer work. And what happens when you bridge these two things? What happens when you connect people development and purpose with being a good corporate citizen? I'll tell you what I've seen over and over. The outcome of that marriage is engaged, productive, satisfied employees, successful companies, and a better, flourishing world. So, this next part is especially for your inner skeptic, that voice that says, well, that sounds nice, but what do we actually do to make this stuff real? The other way I'm different. I try to make this purposeful, aspirational content very practical. I know how to make organizational change happen. I've seen it from the inside out, from the individual to the collective, not just purpose discovery and embodiment practices, but also leadership, culture, and impact. You need all four quadrants to build stable change. And because I've summarized, simplified, and synthesized these practices, I've made them almost too simple to fail. Now, while people often say otherwise, change is simple, not easy, but simple. It just takes practice. Steady, reliable change will happen when you have doable, repeatable practices. So let's talk about doable, repeatable practices in a new way to think about purpose that gets us out of the distraction traction we're stuck in and towards something real, something personal and personalized. Finding your purpose is a great start, but what's next? What's the very next small step? And what's the next small step after that? And most importantly, what do you do first thing Monday morning? Because Monday is coming around again. And it's time to stop letting it be just like the one before and just like the one before that. It's time to start on your very own purposeful path. Now, as leaders, we were already dealing with an epidemic of anxiety, depression, and obesity, which corresponded to a chronic lack of engagement at work. And that was before the pandemic. Things have only gotten worse. And thanks to 24/7 news coverage, employees can neither avoid the endless drumbeat of global problems, but have no way to meaningfully engage with them every day through their work. With a little time and guidance, a strong and supportive purpose should help you and your team make everyday decisions and big decisions and decisions where other people are helped or hurt. And you should be shaping that purpose and stretching it and strengthening it as you make your way through your life and through your life's work. When you and your purpose are walking through your life together, you get energy from it and excitement and resolve. You know you're doing meaningful work. You know you're in a worthwhile life at a worthwhile organization, doing things that matter. And if your organizational purpose is taking on some of the big problems of our day, you need to be ready to fail. Yeah, I said it, but better to fail at trying to win your own unique game than to play someone else's. By pursuing your purpose, you're also helping other people in your life. Your kids will see purposeful living modeled for them every day. Your spouse will work on their own purpose and help you with yours. Same with coworkers. You can even start influencing your boss and people who work for you. When I show one person how to use these methods and tools for defining and shaping their purpose, they become a center of gravity for their own world. And to get everyone started, we offer the most reliable way for adults to pick up new skills. We walk you through lightweight, performance oriented practice summaries because that's how adults actually learn, with lots of context in a way that's very close to learning from someone who's right next to you. In a few minutes, I'll give you the link to the Centropy Toolkit. This is our free PDF guide of all 33 personal, interpersonal, and organizational practice summaries. So most of you on this call will be getting this directly, but in the event that you don't, or if you want to share this with others, I ask that you please send them the link to this so that I can stay in touch with them. You can pick and choose them as practice chains, buffet style. You can follow the order that makes sense for you. The important thing is that you at least consider all four quadrants of organizational life, the inner and outer of the individual and the group, so that you can build stable and lasting change. Purpose is the seed, leaders are farmers, culture is the soil, and the fruit is the impact delivered to all stakeholders. Miss any one dimension, and the seed never bears fruit. So, in the first example above, with a large multinational company going through layoffs, suitable practices revolve around lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy. They address survival, basic mental and physical health, affiliation needs, as well as minimum achievement requirements needed to navigate organizational changes gracefully. Learning to stay calm, give feedback, and engage in difficult conversations are necessary to do it well. In the, sec- in the second example, a medium sized company dealing with a leader succession and the chance to reinvent the company, tools that help consider the big picture and are forward looking are more fitting. Reconnecting with the major purpose of the company, crafting a compelling vision, and considering the entire ecosystem of stakeholders and how to serve them is important in this scenario. In this third example, there is a startup driven by conscious founders entering a period of fast growth. Self actualization, transcendence, and service are the order of the day. We need to have the courage to demonstrate radical authenticity and re envision our work to become a vessel for our own personal development and a vehicle for delivering value to the larger world. In my upcoming course, Ignite, your playbook for plugging into purpose at work, we'll take a deep dive into 18 gold star practices from the Centropy Toolkit. Let's look at them. There are 7 modules of practice corresponding to wake up, grow down, clean up, show up, serve, and surrender. We will touch base with all of these categories, plus an extra module focused specifically on bringing purpose to work. These are live 90-minute sessions. I'm your facilitator, and together we'll explore tools and practices for discovering and embodying your deeper purpose, authentic leadership, and a developmental culture that will deliver impact for all stakeholders. The arc of transformation I am proposing moves from the inside out, from you as an individual to you as a team member or leader working within an organization. The first half of this transformation diagram here is working on you. Okay, scratch it. The arc of transformation I am proposing moves from the inside out, from you as an individual to you as a team member or leader working inside an organization. The first half is working on you. When we make this turn at the bottom, we bring our best, most evolved self to work. We then build stronger teams, more resilient organizations that do good in the world. Let's take a deep dive into each of the modules. The first one we call Wake Up. This is the module associated with spirit. In it, we will be practicing basic meditations. We do this one first, so the rest of the world, with all its noise and distractions, can be put aside. Wake Up is about peace. It's also about learning to feel deeply, care, and generate positive emotional states, and powerfully create through visualization. Next is Grow Up. We'll talk about Grow Down next. This is the module associated with the mind. In Grow Up, you'll learn about the four quadrants of organizational life with the framework to guide our attention and intentions. We'll go through practices to continue maturing psychologically. After Grow Up comes Grow Down. Think of a tree. The roots have to grow down to enable the canopy to flourish. In this session, you'll explore your deeper purpose. We'll go through an in depth exercise. We'll focus on naming and filling in the details of the 8 facets of your purpose to help you craft a purpose statement that really inspires you. After Wake Up, Grow Up, and Grow Down, there's Cleanup. Cleanup deals with the shadow. Your shadow is your subconscious mind. Cleanup shows you how to recognize when you're being triggered emotionally and how to respond consciously. And that gets us through the first half of the modules dealing with interiors. And we start the second half with a look into your future, how you show up. This is the body module, the 10-year plan for how you will embody your deeper purpose, how it will be, who you are, and what you are. Then we do a variation of Show Up called Show Up at Work, where Show Up is about your purpose plan for you. Show Up at Work is about your plan, your vision for your company, how you work out tensions with team members, bosses, and employees, how you build a high functioning culture of growth and contribution, one that inspires your team to aim higher and go further. From the first session, Wake Up, through to Show Up at Work, we've been expanding your purpose and vision. You're expanding your purpose into a wider and wider circle. With the 7th module, we combine serve and surrender. We'll work through how you can help a wider circle of stakeholders, partners, and people to help them thrive and help them discover how to translate organizational purpose into impact. We invite leaders to play a bigger game and take a longer view. And finally is surrender. With the second half of this final 7th session around surrender, we're reframing your work into an expression of your deepest purpose, translated into service to the world. Now, this isn't the surrender of resignation, but rather the gentle inhale to the exhale of service. We're taught to strive in this world, but never how to arrive. In the end, we do the best we can, and then we have to let go of the outcome. The oxygen required for our next exhale of service comes from the quality and depth of our inhale after surrendering what has come before. And let's talk about service to the world a little bit more, because the world in our lives, like I said before, is full of distraction. But also more than that, it's full of tricky, complicated problems that people in business are uniquely well positioned to solve. Because what's business really? It's people working together to benefit themselves and the group and the greater group. Certainly investors, but all stakeholders ultimately. So my time during this talk, serving the world, depends on what we all do next. Let's hope that this talk won't be another time where the purpose question, the what's all this for question, comes into your life and then you don't do anything for another 6 months. Don't let another 6 month or a year or 5 years pass by without you serving with purpose, serving your team or teams, serving the world in your own way. Maybe you won't pursue this purpose work further. Maybe other people will start the first step into a different life, a different way of thinking and acting and being, and you won't. Or maybe you're going to be one of those people who steps into their next direction with the rest of us. It's a small step, but we can do it together. You're not alone for this. You don't have to be. Taking the next step is really pretty easy. And again, most of you will be getting this toolkit, but for whatever reason you don't have it, or you're watching this later, check out the link below to download your free copy of the Syntropy Toolkit, tools.syntropycenter.com/tools. In this toolkit, I'll walk you through the entire process step by step. It includes the what, the why, and the how of currently 33 discrete personal, interpersonal, and organizational practices. Now, beyond the downloadable PDF guide, there are links to other resources on the website to find more information. Now, admittedly, this isn't a substitute for a deeper dive on any of these practices, but what I'm hoping to do with the toolkit is give you a map of the territory, outline the trajectory of the journey, and provide the tools and exercises to get you there. Now, if you want to go deeper and be guided through 18 of our Gold Star practices in an interactive community of conscious leaders and founders, join my course, Ignite, your playbook for plugging into purpose at work. This is a form of mind, body, spirit cross training at work. This course starts September 5th and runs through October 17th. I hope you'll join me. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks.